Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
Now, what are you dirty hoes doing on my planet?
This is episode 185, recorded July 7th, 2021.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-host Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Joining me tonight is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl, and co-host of the Gruesome Magazine podcast. How you doing, Crystal?
I'm great. I'm good. My brains are all where they should be.
Yeah.
I don't have good. Yeah.
Prove it.
Totally. I know. I'm like, maybe not. I don't know. I'm a little confused now.
Also joining us is Chad Hunt, comic book artist, co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era, Decades of Horror, the 1970s. Chad, it's good to see you. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good. I'm holding my brains in with this hat and earphones set up.
Oh yeah.
And it seems to be doing the job perfectly.
The belt was a good idea.
Yeah, I like the belt. And last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s, and cat lover extraordinaire and all around nice guy.
Oh yeah. It's all my
Clearly.
cats here. I think I might need a little help tonight, though.
Yeah.
Oh, he did it.
Yeah.
See,
Good
yeah.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
Good idea.
But it just falls apart. Yeah.
We just went part way.
Just
He went
amazing.
all the way.
Yeah.
Don't stand up during the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Doing fine.
All
Just
right.
got back from Florida. There was a little bit of weather there, but
Yeah.
apparently that happens all the time there. They're just like North Carolina when it's going to snow. It's all they'll talk about. Except there, they'll hand out sandbags. You get 10 free sandbags when a storm's coming. I don't know what you do with 10 sandbags. You must have a tiny little house, but I guess you collect them until you have enough to protect your whole house. Yeah,
Collect your sandbags.
Yeah.
All right. Glad you're back.
Yeah,
Good
me
to see
too.
you.
It's good seeing family though. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think I heard
Hey.
didn't I hear the hurricane's veering away from North Carolina or the Carolinas a little bit? I don't know.
Good.
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't even know there was a hurricane. I just assumed because
See?
of the sandbags.
Yeah.
We're
All
so
right,
far
well,
inland.
On this podcast,
Just a little bit of rain. Just a little bit.
just a little bit. On this podcast, we first we'll talk about some details of the film and get first impressions, and then we'll just kind of take off. We love to go a-wandering.
Yep.
Our film this episode is Bad Taste from 1987, and I'm directed. I don't know if everybody would just automatically recognize this guy as a director or not, but directed by Peter Jackson, his first film. Written by Peter Jackson with some additional material from Tony Hiles and Ken Harmon. Cast includes Peter Jackson, Terry Potter, Mike Minett, Pete O'Hearn, Craig Smith, and Doug Wren. Now, why aren't there ever names like that when Doc's reading off the cast? I
Because
don't
he
know.
reads, yeah.
So this is from New Zealand, from Wingnut Films and the New Zealand Film Commission. It was filmed in the Wellington region in New Zealand, and the production dates are from 1983 to 1987.
Wow.
This took a while, and we'll talk about that. The release date is December 25th, 1987 in New Zealand, and January 21st, 1989 in the U.S. Estimated budget was 200,000 New Zealand dollars, but boy, I swear... Oh, that's right. he got money towards the end from the New Zealand Film Commission. I did read that he spent like $11,000 of his own money. Also known as, this was the only one that was something different. In Mexico, it was known as Picadillo. which means hash, as best as I can tell.
Interesting.
Okay. And in this film, the population of a small town disappears and is replaced by aliens that chase human flesh for their intergalactic fast food chain. And you can kind of tell what's going on in this movie because this is, I think the filmmaking was kind of like this too. His headset is like a little speaker with a wire taped to it and the handset. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was great. And we do have a few posters here. Here's the big one. That's
I love it.
That was
the one you
one
see
that was-
everywhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
When
is the
I have
alien.
a story about this. When I rented this off the shelf,
Uh-huh.
a mom and pop store, and I guess they did this for all the American versions that they put this out. They had the exact same finger as a sticker on the index finger as well, so it looked like he was making the peace sign.
Yes.
I rented this movie so many times, and every time I'd rent it, I'd peel the other finger off the box and go stick it on different other boxes in very inappropriate places, I'll say. Like Brad Pitt wore it proudly, and a couple other guys wore it. And every time I'd bring it back, somehow that sticker would end up right back on there, and I'd do it again. My brother and I. So it was fun. That's my memory of this movie.
There are a couple of hooligans.
And I did read that they did that in some places, which is kind of funny. Considering the film, we'll leave the film on the shelf, but we can't have it given you the film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most offensive thing in this movie.
Right. So I've got a few other posters here. Some interesting. I don't quite get the top one.
Those are terrible.
Is that like a plunger or something?
Is that a plunger?
Yeah. It looks like a plunger, and there's the house, and someone's hanging on to it in the worst drawn planet Earth ever.
And I believe the bottom one was a DVD cover. But that's Peter Jackson with his chainsaw and then a lot of other stuff that you can't really recognize.
Yeah. Oh.
Then we have the top one.
That looks like Phantasm.
Yeah, he's reaching out with his bony hand, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the bottom one, the first one was by far the best.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the bottom one's cool and everything, but it doesn't give you any sense of what's going on. It looks like a cannibal movie.
Right, an alien in a chef suit. Not necessarily, obviously, an alien.
I think the first one tells the story. It's bad taste, and it is in bad taste. It's a comedy. It's got aliens and
got guns.
It's obviously kind of off the, it's wacky. Yeah,
it's wacky. It's wacky.
It's zany.
All right. Now, this brings us to the part, our favorite part.
Yeah.
It is now time for the taglines.
Oh boy.
They're not very good, though.
I like the way he kind of tries to class it up, like the tagline. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie's good, but these taglines are not good.
No, none of these are. One thing the aliens hadn't counted on was Derek, and Derek's don't run.
I kind of like it.
I
I'm
mean,
not gonna lie.
that's the best of the bunch.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah.
That's why it's first, I guess, because it just gets worse from here. Watch out, aliens! And here comes Derek.
Yeah. Out of context, it means nothing. Yeah.
4 years in the making, and this is
The bastards have landed. Now,
yeah,
that could be Thanksgiving at my house.
Oh.
Yeah.
When you
I'm telling your mom you said that.
Yeah.
She'll agree with me on that one. Crumbs, crunchy delights.
See, that's absolutely terrible. That is terrible. It means nothing.
Makes no
if you haven't
sense.
seen the movie.
No.
It doesn't make you want to see
sense.
the movie, and it makes no sense unless you've seen the movie immediately. Like within, no, just terrible.
Human meat for intergalactic hamburgers, which is
Oh
on
boy.
it's on every McDonald's sanitation grade.
Yeah.
Plaque, you know.
Also, you've just spoiled a plot point. I mean,
Human meat for intergalactic hamburgers.
oh, that's New Zealand for steak.
Oh my God.
All right.
I got nothing else.
I'm waiting to
We
hear
have
the
no
good
idea how to
stuff,
do an
but
accent.
There's no good stuff.
I wouldn't know a New Zealand accent if it slapped me upside the head, so I just assume that they're near
You
Australia.
were doing like
so
Australian.
Yeah,
Australian.
well,
for
they're
beef.
right next door. I mean,
Yeah,
just
right
like the
next
Germans and the French speak the same language. If you're near each other, it's going to sound pretty similar.
What?
Just think Alistair.
What? That was actually really,
All right.
Yeah.
really funny.
So this was let's get the first impressions, and this was Crystal's pick. So
Mhm.
Good job, Crystal.
when did you first see
Oh,
this?
yeah.
And
This was so okay. So I mentioned this one because it's one that I had been wanting to watch. Okay, and I saw it was on
Ah.
Amazon. Yeah, this was my first time. It was. I think it was like 3 weeks ago that I saw it actually. I think it's hilarious. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is bad and really good. Obviously, it did kind of remind me of Street Trash at points. Kind of its styling and how
Yeah.
trashy it is. You know, it's definitely a
Mhm.
trashy movie. It's not. There is no class here,
Garbage. Yeah.
but I think the aliens look amazing, and I love the butts. I think they're hilarious. I think that okay. There's no real story here. Yeah, there should be a story,
that's
but they kind of drop you off in the middle. And so you're like, who are these people? So these
Right.
people knew aliens were coming and they just decided to fight them. You don't really know where you don't know how all these people know about these quiet aliens, because supposedly they're like secret, and for some reason they all dress alike, except for, I guess they're farmers or something, they said. It's a mess. But, oh God, when he wakes up after falling off that's when the movie has me. The beginning, it's not that great. It starts off slow, but it ramps up and it gets really, really funny to me. Like, I was laughing out loud. And I'm like, where did they get machine guns? Where did they get RPGs? I mean, are you kidding? It's not just one RPG. He's like, hold on, I got another one.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
You don't just take one.
It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. It's very fun. It's a fun movie.
they were
And-
the supreme fighting force known as the Boys.
The boys.
Okay, but then who? And the other group? Who were the other group?
Oh, there was Mum, but he didn't call her.
No, the guys dressed in the black with the mask.
That was the same guys.
Yeah.
What? I didn't get that at all. I thought
No.
they were just.
They may have looked different because they might have been 4 years older.
Yeah,
than
might have
they
been.
were in
They might have had a
previous
different
Right.
haircut. You know.
scene. Yeah.
So the guys dressed in black were Derek's friends, Barry and
Oh my God! I'm not kidding. I thought.
Ozzy and
You
there's
could
that
be-
line.
You can
They
be
had that
forgiven.
line
It's a
about
little
how
disjointed.
I knew we shouldn't have gave them firearms.
I thought it was like a whole different. I thought it was like an army group or something coming, like some super soldiers or something. I was
You're right.
confused about
You're right.
that.
It's
Okay,
pretty
it was,
disjointed. It is
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
disjointed. So
but I love the way it ended too.
Mhm.
It's got a fabulous ending, and it's yeah. So I definitely think that this should be, if you like. Well, definitely if you like Street Trash, you're gonna like this. If you like cheesy, I think this one could be more universal though too. Street Trash has some triggers. I think that
Right.
Street
trigger
trash
some
is
people.
unpleasant sometimes.
Yeah, it's got some, but this one is just silly the whole way
Mhm.
through, and there's nothing really I didn't really see anything that would be majorly offensive to anyone.
No,
so
it's
much.
gross
So
out offensive, but not mean-spirited offensive.
Yeah. So I think that I think that a lot of our viewers will find this very interesting. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
It's a hoot. And I just have to throw one thing in here. You won't know which one it is, so I can tell the story. What did you say, Crystal? You like their butts on the aliens?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Even my son, when my son was 3 years old, I found him flipping through a Playboy, and I said, "What are you doing? What are you looking at that for?" I like their butts.
Oh my God.
Cannot lie.
Honest.
Oh my God. That's
From the mouths of babes.
That's not
All
like
right,
Roman
Mulligan.
looked at him. No.
Hey.
Well,
No, I like the articles.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw this way back in the day. There was a writer by the name of Chaz Ballin, who was one of the guys who really kind of introduced the whole splatter movie kind of thing. Cool guy, a lot of fun, and he had a magazine. I think it was called Deep Red.
Yeah.
And I believe this was on the cover, or there was a story. It was basically, it had the shot of the guy eating the remains from the missing head and everything, and it was just so over the top. And he praised it, as I recall. So when I got the chance, I found it on videotape. And to me, this movie reminds me a lot of one of my favorites that we've done, Equinox, because this is such a let's get together with your friends and make a movie.
Yeah.
And when you sent the information about how it took 4 years to make this movie, and there was no script, they basically just wrote what they were going to do that weekend, and then on the weekend they shot it. I mean, that
makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of how we make movies, except we usually have a script, but it's still, what can you do on the weekend? You may have to change things. Sometimes people drop out of the project and you may end up having to, recast. But I've never seen one where they had to recast to the point where a guy is throwing himself over a cliff. I mean, a fight between two different characters played by the same actor. That's a kind of genius. And the effects are amazing for the non-existent budget that they had.
Yeah, the aliens, I can't believe that.
That's
they
some
look.
foam. I'm
you
pretty
see
sure
it
that's
on the
foam
cover.
rubber. It's very well done. I mean, they didn't go beyond
the
what
painting
they could do.
too, the colors.
Yeah, everything about it was good. Just this. I mean, I know it sounds simple, but just making that house rise up, the aircraft house, that was really well done. And I just think to myself, if I had the chance to do something like that, it would have looked super cheesy. I thought that was it looked good. And you say to yourself, this guy, whoever this Peter Jackson fellow is who made this movie for nothing, way too ambitious, reach totally exceeds his grasp. I mean, he's shooting for the stars like he's never going to make a movie again. I wonder what would happen if you gave him some money.
Yeah. And
after making a few movies equally as weird as this, that's exactly what they did. And we got Lord of the Rings. It still astonishes me that they gave it to him.
Wait,
it was a great idea. Oh yeah, this is the director of Lord of the Rings.
Oh, this is the
Peter Jackson. No,
didn't know that. I did not know that.
Oh no, little Petey Jackson, who now has Stucky's Pizza or something.
Petey Jackson from the corner pub.
And the King Kong remake.
What would ever?
And the Frighteners.
Mm-hmm.
And The Frighteners is one of my Jeffrey Combs and Michael J. Fox.
Oh my gosh. That movie. But it didn't do very well, and I'm still amazed that the guy who made Meet the Feeples got the chance to do when they're casting around. It's like, who are we going to get to direct this movie, this epic that is very chancy and it's going to cost a fortune, and we're going to shoot all three at the same time. Let's give it to the Meet the Feeples guy. I'm astonished that they did that. It was the best call they could have made. And looking at this film, should have told him.
He did make some weird choices.
He did.
with his frames. Which is, I feel like that was still a mistake. It's still, I love The Lord of the Rings, don't get me wrong. But now I see it. He's not afraid to take chances.
Right.
And I admire that.
He's not afraid to just throw everything against the wall to get the shot he wants. I mean, this really is ambitious.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
When you said that, I was like, yeah, why would we know this guy? I mean, come on, like Peter Jackson. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, that one.
Like John
Even
Smith.
at a young age. But I just love the idea. I don't know how exactly it came about that he ended up having to play two characters in this movie. But I just love the ingenuity. Not let's just not film this weekend until we get somebody. No, it's like, nah, it's okay. I'll just throw myself off a cliff. The magic of editing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chad Hunt.
What
You
were we
originally
talking
had this on your list, so
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I stole it from him.
that's okay.
the sooner the better.
Yeah, I was eager to do it. I love this movie. Like I said, I rented it off the shelf at, I think it was a Blockbuster or there used to be a little mom and pop video rental place near where I lived. I can't remember which one I rented it from, but aside from the fact that I had fun with the box art, the little sticker on the box art, this looked cool to me, and I can't remember if I read about this movie, maybe in Fangoria or one of those magazines. But I rented it and it was in my rotation for rentals every Friday night. I would rent this movie with a couple other flicks and watched it. It was just I just found it so imaginative, and so a lot of cool ideas, really cool camera work. In some scenes, the gore and the special effects were just knocked me off my feet, and I still to this day wish there were more sheep getting blown up.
Yes, oh my God, that
in this movie because I thought that was the most hilarious thing ever, and I was going, why didn't they do this more times during the movie? But I love it's a fun movie. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it looks like somebody shot it in their backyard with their good friends.
Yep.
But there really is, when you take a look at it, you can really see the seeds of what would happen later with Peter Jackson's career. Just some of the weird ideas. I mean, he went on to do Brain Dead. Like you guys said, Meet the Feebles, which is just that's just one screwed up movie if there ever was one. But still, they all have that. Even the Frighteners. Yeah, it was scary, but it was fun. That was a really fun movie, and Peter Jackson is good at that. And the whole thing about having to close this little compartment in your head throughout the whole movie to keep your brain in. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? It was just so good. And the whole idea of aliens coming to Earth to make us a fast food chain was just right up my alley. I love that whole idea. And it was just great. The miniatures, that house I thought was real at first. The first time I saw it.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
It was such a great miniature, and it wasn't until the end when it was taking off and that I realized it was a miniature. But great stuff, great movie, fun movie. I laughed at it to this day, and and we'll get into it as we go a little bit more. But watching it the first time, then I was just blown away by it. It was just one of the greatest combinations of gore, splatter, and comedy, and just absurd things going on. That it's one that I hold dear to this day, and still enjoy watching it. So I'm glad we're covering it.
Me too.
Yeah, I am too. And so I guess it's confession time now, because I have never seen this. And
okay, so
not only had I never seen this, I always thought that Dead Alive was his first movie. So I had never even thought about this being a Peter Jackson film until I started putting this stuff together. So, but it's amazing. I don't know what else to say. I'm I'm flabbergasted. I'm flummoxed that not only
you won't hear that word again tonight, folks.
he stick with it. Did he stick with it for 4 years? But imagine these guys that were in this movie with him. They didn't really like go into the movie business, at least as far as I could tell. Mm-hmm. Most of them have 1, 2, maybe 3 credits, and that's it. These are like friends that he worked with and stuff like that came in with for 4 years.
4 years.
To go out on weekends and do this stuff. They must have just been having a blast is the only thing I can think of. I mean, and you're right, Bill. He said, Peter Jackson said it was almost bad because he would think of stuff during the week. Mm-hmm. His job was kind of monotonous, and so he'd be thinking, and he'd think of some new gag he could do, and then just stick it in the movie. Start working on it. So disjointed. Yeah, probably.
It's not a strong narrative film, but
holy cow, was it fun? Let's throw. I pulled a bunch of stuff here, and so just for everybody's. We know who we're talking about. So,
I was wondering what the Meet the Feebles is.
It says sex, drugs, and soft toys on the top. I don't know.
You should watch it before we tell you anything about it.
Right.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah.
Is it weird? Yeah, it looks weird.
To say the least.
No doubt.
To say the least.
So I love Dead Alive. I saw that a long time ago, and I don't know why I didn't seek out the other ones.
I didn't know that was him.
I just thought anybody that uses a lawnmower.
Yeah.
That's like, what can you do that's more destructive than a chainsaw? I got it.
Yeah.
And what's a Sumerian rat monkey? That's what I want.
Right. It's a pretty straight line from Bad Taste to Dead Alive, and you see how he's improved as a director, and probably, maybe more importantly, had a budget, had actual some money to work with. But you got to give credit to the guy. Yes, that house looks phenomenal. All the weapons are just made from painted aluminum tubes, and he is a craftsman. He actually is really, really clever. I see he built his own Steadicam for $15.
Yeah, and I think I have. I don't know if I got that picture in here or not. I meant to, but I'm not sure I got it in there. But yeah,
and I did notice
that. Me away.
I did notice that there, for a low budget, no budget film, a lot barry's movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's
we start right off.
Real movie here.
It starts right off with Barry's walking down that road, and the camera goes past Barry like backwards down the road until it picks up the third-rate alien, I guess, whatever they call him, the human who's possessed or whatever. So right off the bat, you're getting that Steadicam action. So then he follows those up with some much more polished horror movies, Heavenly Creatures, The Frighteners, and The Lovely Bones, which are pretty straight up. The Frighteners has a lot of humor in it, but Heavenly Creatures and Lovely Bones. And I didn't realize till I just was looking it up that he had done those. So I'm kind of putting up the ones that I don't think everybody knew that he's not as well known for, I guess.
Sure, because now he's just strictly the Lord of the Rings guy.
Lord of the Rings and King Kong is what I always think of. And then these are like, he kind of got into this documentary thing. So he put together the Lost Spider Pit sequence.
Pretty cool.
Have you seen that, Crystal?
Oh, it's great.
You're muted. I can't hear you, whatever.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I said no. I said, but that's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, there's a
sequence
that was cut from the original King Kong and was lost footage, and so he read about it, kind of figured it out, and when they made King Kong, him and his crew all got together and got some of the old I think he had some of the old armatures and things like that, and recreated these.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's not my favorite movie, just too big, too much going on. But it was obviously he loves King Kong,
right?
And respects the original, and So I like that. But yeah, he's done some good stuff. His documentary work he's a great filmmaker. He's really one of our, he'll go down as one of the best. So,
well, and
not
he
not
goes
too many
out
great
on the limb,
filmmakers
so
have
this
something like
one,
Bad Taste in there.
That also made They Shall Not Grow Old, which is an interesting dive into World War I, where they took original footage from the war and had lip sync experts figure out what the people in the films were saying, and then did voiceovers to make it seem like it was that I found that to be incredibly impressive, especially at the end. They did. I think they all sang a song at the end over the credits.
Yeah.
The original. I just thought that was phenomenal. And right now, there's supposed to be one coming out this fall, a miniseries on the Beatles filming of Let It Be, which I think will be. Being a lifelong Beatles fan, I'm looking forward to that. So, lots of stuff in there, and of course, the 3 Lord of the Rings films, the 3 Hobbits, and King Kong, of which I think it was Return of the King. You got best director, best writer, best picture, right?
Yeah, those films will stand the test of time. They, whatever effects, whatever advances come along with filmmaking, the Lord of the Rings trilogy will just always be, I think, a favorite of people. It's timeless and just really well done. It took it very seriously. And when you start thinking they were going to do Lord of the Rings many years ago, and you're just like, thank God that never happened. Can you imagine how bad it would have been? We did have the animated one,
the animated, and there was radio plays. Lots of stuff. So, but
I think John Borman was going to do one. Stanley Kubrick was mentioned, and a great filmmaker. But I just don't think we had the technology to make it look good. And the bag of tricks that he threw at that, and you can see now when you watch Bad Taste, and you see how many different things they're doing. He's like a magician who's doing card tricks, but he's never doing the same one. How this helped him when he did Lord of the Rings and was using, CGI, but also a lot of practical effects, just a lot of film trickery to make it work.
So I have no idea.
Here's the boys.
I have no idea who the 2 guys on the right in the back row are. I believe they were just human aliens, they probably helped out a bunch, but these other ones, the bottom left is Pete O'Hearn, who was Barry, the guy we see right at the beginning of the movie, that blows the guy's head off, gets blood splattered on his face. Peter Jackson's in the middle, and then Mike Minett, who played Frank, which was sort of the guy that was sort of the action guy, right?
Yeah,
he was sort of the leader. Back left is Craig Smith, who played Giles, the donation collector. And he's the guy, I think you kind of hinted at it, Bill, but he started off in the movie, and then his wife was very religious and said she didn't want him in a movie like that, so he had to back out. And then by the time the movie got finished, he got divorced and he came back.
Yeah, I think he got married and divorced in the time it took to make the movie.
It is amazing that they stuck through this. It's like,
I know.
Or did they dread the phone call? It's like, oh, it's Pete. He wants to shoot
Jackson
again this week. Pete, it's been 4 years. Aren't you done yet? And like, no, man. I came up with a good scene. Wednesday.
I got 2 cases of beer. Okay, we'll be
all right. You had me at 2 cases.
Okay, listen, everybody. Your ass is gonna hang out of the seat of these pants. All of you, every one of you.
And so then the next guy in there, the second from the left, is Terry Potter, who played Ozzy, who was kind of the not as smart a guy that they didn't like to leave around. Leave him alone with weapons, I guess.
He's sort of the weapons expert in a department that was not supposed to carry weapons.
Yeah.
So these 2 guys, Crystal, the Frank and Ozzy, were the 2 guys that were in the car that were driving up that weren't there to start with.
Okay.
Which I think, I don't know if anybody else noticed, I should have looked it up, but I think it was a Ford Maverick. It said Ford. It said Ford on the car, and I couldn't think of any other possible Ford.
I just wonder, where can I get a copy of that van that the Beatles were driving? Like,
oh yeah, that was so what?
That slapped
With the big
together.
turret.
How?
Yeah, is that a real car that was made, or was that something else Jackson came up with on his
I
own
don't
with a little
know.
bit of duct tape? That was a crazy looking
That
car.
was funny.
I know. And then he's got Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band in the front seat, and he's elevated behind him driving. That was great. And you know what? I tried to find a picture of that, but they were all really fuzzy.
Yeah.
The ones that I saw anyway. Yeah, Peter Jackson, whatever it is. So, and
There's the boys.
there's some aliens.
Oh my god, they did a good job with those
the
costumes,
butts.
though.
There's the
Too
butts.
big for their britches.
Yeah. Does my ass look fat in this?
And look how many they had. Like that,
So
there
here's-
were quite a
It'd
few.
be
of
interesting to
them.
watch it
Seems
again and
like-
see how many are on screen at once,
At
because there
one
may
time.
not have been more than like 3.
No, well, I think there's at least 4, for sure.
Yeah,
The
probably.
humanoids
okay.
from the deep technique of just showing
Mhm.
3 or 4 at a time. I saw
There's the
in the
house
workflow that he was baking this in his mom's
Yes.
oven. Okay,
Yeah.
for those of you at home, if you're working with foam rubber and everything, don't do that. I'll bet his
Yeah, it's
mom's
bad.
food
Oh.
tasted like latex for years to come.
She said I'd be getting ready to do dinner, and Peter would be here, and he'd be baking something. So
Oh,
I'd have to like go get some sausage or something and put it on the grill. Can't hear you, Chad.
Yum. That sounds so good. Yum.
I said, I'm sure he's bought her a nice new
Oh,
set
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
it's all right
since
now.
then to make
But
up.
she was funny. She seemed like such a sweet
Yeah.
mother.
but you know,
statement.
that's a common element too, and it's, for parents out there, you hear stories about like how when Ray Harryhausen was a kid, he used his mom's fur coat to make his first model, and his parents joined in. It's like they didn't understand what this kid was doing, but he wasn't doing drugs.
But they
He wasn't
supported
getting
him.
in trouble.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
supported him, and because of that support, these guys went on to become great filmmakers that have made other people pursue their dreams too. I mean, that's good parenting right there. You may not get what this is all about. It must have seemed indescribably weird to a perfectly nice little New Zealand lady that her kid is making vomit with whatever it was they made that out. Don't even ask. Oh, is that repulsive? Hey, you know what this movie really has a lot of? The most disgusting sounds I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Every time he picks up a brain, I just feel like someone was
yeah.
off with their hand in some linguine, just mixing it around. It's so over the top, but it's brilliant.
So if you haven't seen this film, the spaceship is the house, and they're blasting off to go back home. So we've talked about it quite a bit, but here's some of the gore.
There we go.
That top shot is like one of the first things that happens.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's so awesome.
That is really well done. It's
Mhm.
very well painted. I mean, I've tried to do things like that. I don't think I ever came close. That's really well done. And the one on the bottom, I don't know why I haven't cosplayed as this yet and see if anybody.
I know. That's one of my favorites. I absolutely love that one.
That
The
would
guy
be
swings
simple.
back the sledgehammer and hits his buddy in the head, and then they're not really very tightly connected, right? The aliens
Seems to
posing
be,
as humans.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
And so this guy spins around with the arm hanging off the head, and blood drips off the arm into Peter Jackson's face, who's hanging down below off the cliff.
So
He
I
just
didn't
must
even
have been sitting
realize
there
that
going,
Peter,
let's make it do this. Let's make it do that.
that Peter was actually in this.
Yeah.
I
So he
did
was
it twice.
Yeah. He was
He was Derek,
Derek.
and he was the guy with the beard hanging off the
Robert. Yeah.
Robert, yeah.
Which means that he had to film those scenes way far apart from each other because he can't just keep shaving his
Yeah.
beard off and growing it back the next day.
Mhm.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Awesome.
And that cliff was shot really well too, because I kept thinking, the way they were shooting it and accentuating the steepness of it,
Yeah, yeah.
the way he was running down there and prancing around, I kept thinking, Jesus, he's gonna
Hurt
fall off
himself?
now.
All I kept thinking was none of these working conditions were safe. I can tell you already that none of this was safe. I was looking at it. I was like,
nowhere to be found here.
Oh my God, what are they doing? Oh,
no,
God, that is so
dangerous. There was no safety protocol. There was, as Jeff mentioned, beer.
No.
That's what there was. That was
no.
I don't know, but I love that shot. I also loved when he falls down off the cliff and he's curled up like in a hands and knees or somersault position. I just thought that was so awesome.
That was one of the better dummies someone sent over the cliff.
You know what?
In a movie.
I was thinking the same thing, that maybe you should do that more often instead of throwing those dummies that have absolutely no joints whatsoever. Right. They're just flopping around like this. Maybe do that kind of knees tucked in, because it rolled. At first I was like, whoa, this stuntman is really and then I'm like, no, that can't be a stuntman. He'd be dead. That was good stuff. They just did all the low budget stuff that we do, except it just looks way better when he's doing it.
It just looks. He did a really good job. I'm sorry. I know I keep harping on these aliens, but they look really, really good to me. Like if I saw them in a movie right now today, I would love them still.
Yeah,
that's how good I think they were done. Like they were. I'm like, damn, that's legit. And the fact that there were multiple ones, I mean, and I'm picky about that stuff, but the addition of the butts and stuff, I mean, it's super creative, super kind of funny, but still a little creepy and scary because they're missing the noses. I think they're brilliant.
when they finally morph, and it seems like it's driven by the leader morphing, and then they all go. That shot of the leader, when his face starts kind of bulging and bubbling and stuff, and then their butts bulge out and their shoulders bulge out and their knees bulge out. What I thought was funny too was they looked at different times, different ones of the aliens had different walks. You know, like there was one that kept, I don't know, it was just strange, but they were all hilarious, I thought.
I mean, I just look at them. I'm kind of in awe of it because it's such a low budget.
And you just know they're having like whatever New Zealand's do instead of pizza. They were just like sitting over, and it's like, you know, then they're gonna like come out of their clothes, and someone's like, wouldn't it be funny if their butts just like stuck out of the pants? Like, yeah, write that down.
Oh my God! And but they still have the crack. Like that thing. It reminded me of So Fine. Okay, that's all I thought about I saw that.
Wow, I haven't thought of that movie ever.
I was like, oh, yep.
All right, so a little bit more of the gore, which we mentioned. So the first guy who gets his head blown off gets revisited by Robert later on, and he's spooning himself a meal of brains as he makes his way back to the alien house. And then the middle picture is,
that little flap that keeps coming. When you start shoving alien brains in there, it's like to make up for what's missing.
And dirt and grass and all.
I was confused because when he raised up, there were these horrible. Okay, this is the worst special effect in this movie. Those dead seagulls. Okay.
Oh, they were tragically horrible. They were.
That was definitely the worst special effects this. But
I love the blood, just gouts of blood are coming out of the seagull's mouth.
Oh, yes.
Hey, that was, but so he raised up and he had his head open, and then like somehow he came back again and then came up and the seagulls are gone. I was like, did his brain eat the seagulls?
I guess I thought he just moved. That he turned a little bit.
Actually, that scene was shot 3 years later.
Yeah, they probably forgot there was seagulls.
Fake seagulls were gone. Yeah,
that could be it. Because I was like, and then he was like, oh, and then that's when he put that piece of. I was like, is that brain? They didn't quite know how to make some brains.
Those look like real brains, actually, that they got from a butcher shop or something.
That is actually what real brains look like. The brains don't look like they do in the movies. It's disgusting. And
So we're conditioned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are actually real, like sheep brains or whatever they use. After they blew up the sheep at the end, they used.
They probably
Well, part of it
After they-
is his acting. He's a great comic actor in this.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, he is.
With the body language and his facial expressions are incredible.
Well, he was my favorite, of course.
He puts that. He shoves something in there, some brains in there, puts up that flap, and then he goes to his car and gets that top hat and puts it on. Pulls it down real fast.
Oh my god! No, but wait. What about when he's fighting the aliens and then he puts the stuff back and puts the flap back, and the aliens like, oh shit, yeah. Oh shit.
Too much even for them.
They're like, oh god, this guy's a beast.
This also reminded me a lot of Sam Raimi, but not necessarily the Sam Raimi film, like Evil Dead, obviously, but even before. Sam Raimi made a lot of movies before Evil Dead, mostly comedy stuff with Bruce Campbell. And if you ever get a chance to see them, there's a lot of that in there. The one scene that just totally cracked me up and just reminds me of that kind of style, when he's cutting, to get into the house, he's cutting, an opening with the chainsaw, and he makes a perfect silhouette of himself holding a chainsaw so he can just walk right through it. It's like, that's so Warner Brothers Looney Tunes, that's great.
Yes. Well, this machete to the guy's head is almost a cliche now. He shows how he did that on that one clip, which you wouldn't even have to have somebody show you. The one sort of weird thing about it is he smashes this. Supposedly, you've smashed that into his brain, and there's just one straight spurt coming out from the tube they've got running up there.
Right.
I didn't see the clip, but I did. This reminded me of the scene in Dawn of the Dead, the Tom Savini gag with the machete to the face.
It's exactly.
Sure.
The blade is cut out in a curve.
Cut it out.
There's a tube running up behind.
That is the simplest effect in the world to do, but it is so effective. It will send people running if you do it live. Mm-hmm. Have like a razor blade and cut out. Make sure it's blunt, for God's sakes, but cut out like a little thing there and put it on your finger and do that. That'll people hit the floor. And if you also can put a little bit of blood in there to make the blood come out, everyone knows how the effect is done, but it doesn't matter. It's so
still freaks you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're not done yet. Robert gets a machete to the throat, and it just happens to hit him while he's leaped like 2 or 3 inches into the air.
Yeah.
His feet are off the ground. And then when Derek hits the head alien with the chainsaw, or one alien.
Who did
anyway.
the special effects?
I think Jackson did most of them. I don't. So the New Zealand Film Commission, he said they had just got started, was making this movie, and he said at first the head guy said, "I can't give you anything because of the topic of this movie is too crazy," but he gave him a bunch of script development grants. He sort of slid them some money that wasn't really for what they were for, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Here's a way I can give you money, even though you're not developing the script. And then at some point, when it got to a certain point, then he got him a grant to finish the movie. And so I'm guessing
how it was coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is if they brought somebody else in to.
I wonder.
Like an awful lot.
I think that some of those Weta guys have been with him since the beginning too.
No, I'm looking this up. The makeup department was Peter Jackson for makeup effects and Cameron Chittock for makeup effects assistant. So basically 2 guys, one of which was Peter Jackson, who also did the cinematography and also did the editing and
acting.
One of those, and special effects. And yeah, it's not a one-man team, but it's about as close as you can in a film like this.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That shot down at the bottom with the head getting split open. That's,
it's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work going
on.
Work.
But in fairness, we had 4 years, so yeah.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay, we forget that, but still.
He climbs in the top of the alien's head and comes out his ass.
Oh yeah,
and then sits up and goes, again. "I'm reborn. I'm reborn." I just thought I was gonna die laughing. I was like, "Oh my god, he's not doing that." And then when he sort of sets himself up and sort of climbs back up into the suit, I guess.
Wasn't there a similar scene in Brain Dead?
Yeah, there was.
Or,
Yeah.
or Dead Alive?
Dead Alive.
Dead Alive.
Yeah. Same, 2 different titles, same movie. But of the mother.
Yeah, he ends up
okay.
in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And we've got to have
Yeah.
the Gruel.
I love this dude. I love that dude.
Me
right
too.
there.
He did a good
Yeah,
job.
he was good.
He's really good. So they depend on Robert to make the Gruel, which is just a mask of Peter Jackson with a funnel coming in from off camera.
Oh, that's a mask. Like I never even would have thought.
I didn't know that when I
wasn't
first
thinking
watched
about
it. I'm thinking, now how does he doing that?
I thought maybe they just had something from the side or whatever. Yeah.
It's
I
pretty
gotta say,
convincing.
his
though.
life casting is good.
Yeah.
Especially with a face like this, where you got to punch in the hair and everything else. No kind of fun, trust me. But it's good stuff.
And if you look close at his eyes, they're like squinting and wrinkled, like you would be in distress. He was had a good attention to detail. And then they all had to pass it around, and I guess you knew you really liked it if your nose got
covered in it. Mm-hmm.
And I forget, what did they say was in there? I know peas was part of it. Was it tapioca or something like that?
Yeah, it looks like it. I know the guy at the bottom, the main guy goes, I think, looky me, I got a chunky bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was disgusting. It is.
I was like, man, this
yogurt.
stuff is rife with chunky bits. What are you talking about?
It's yogurt and muesli. I guess that's like muesli, like cereal or something, with green food color.
Oh, it's not too bad.
Yeah. No, that's not too bad. If you don't think about it.
So apparently there was the scene where Derek's driving a van and he swerves off the road to chase the alien. They had a guy sitting on the hood with a camera because they couldn't afford a camera mount.
Safety first.
And they hit a stump. They hit a stump, which stopped the van right away, and he went flying. And his only comment was, "We ain't doing that one again." Oh, Lord.
That's a lot of vomit.
Yeah.
It is. He fills that bowl up.
Yeah.
I suppose I should take that off. That's probably.
It's very distracting.
Yeah. I like that you can do animated GIFs, though. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So the van is a 1961 Thames 5 CWT wheelchair converted van.
Wow.
It actually belonged to Peter Jackson.
Of course. It's an insane car.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything like that. Cars used to be way more interesting back in the day, folks.
They were.
Young folks out here, you don't know. They all look like little boxes.
I don't always think of it, but I should have looked that up on the Internet car database, Internet movie car database, because I wanted to know. I'm sure that's a Ford Maverick though, because I can't think of any other Ford that looked like that. But it was a cool car too. And whatever Giles was driving that had a choke on it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He's trying to outrun Robert and he just won't get going.
The close up on the choke and him fumbling with the knob was hilarious.
So I thought, any final thoughts here? Let's start wrapping this up. I just thought this was hilarious. I was so surprised and so impressed with this. Yeah, it looks bad. The worst part about it is the dubbing. They didn't have any sound equipment, so they had to dub everything, which makes it's just kind of obvious because it's got that sound. But there's something about it that it just kind of fits the whole feel of the film.
I feel stupid because I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice it. I wasn't focusing on the sound, I guess, enough, because clearly it was probably, but I mean, what one
it
of
was
these
it was good.
Have,
it was good.
You know, like I could hear everything they were saying. So
yeah,
Definitely worth a watch unless you're easily grossed out, in which case you shouldn't watch it. And if you're a filmmaker, watch this and see, what you're capable of doing if you're willing to give it the time and effort.
If any of us were to make this picture, we'd be patting each other on the back, telling each other what an awesome job we did on this.
Tattoo of it,
Yeah, so this is one of the funnest movies for me to watch. And I love it dearly, and loved it way before I knew who Peter Jackson was. But yeah, it's just one of those fun sci-fi horror comedy mashups that just works. It works, and it's good when you look past all its faults.
Yeah,
and this is easily one of those type of movies. Love it dearly.
Obviously made by someone who loves movies and has been given the opportunity to make, or actually took the opportunity to make a movie, and he's going to finish it whether it kills him, even if it takes 4 years. That's like that's a presidential administration. That's like going to college,
And not just 4 years, weekends only.
Oh yeah,
that's the worst.
That's the definition of persistence. I mean,
yeah.
It's awesome.
And it is. That to me, that might be the most impressive thing about this, is that he got these guys to stick with it. And somehow, over that 4-year period, they looked relatively the same. I don't know how they kept the same haircuts and all that stuff.
They don't seem like they really had much style. So their style is probably just the same.
Well,
yeah. I'm like,
But to get them to do that, I just think that's like the definition. I don't know. Would you call that leadership? Somehow he got those people fired up enough to go.
Well, it tells you that they believed in what he was doing. And he's either convinced them this is going to be the greatest thing ever, or they saw how committed he was, and through that they said, well,
or they're just really good friends. Because I would do it for my friend. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, it sure wasn't to
I'm
meet
busy
girls
this weekend,
because there's not a woman in the whole movie, which is
right. Right. You're right. There isn't. No women in that town, funny. I guess.
Yeah.
I bet you none of the women would have put up with that.
Yeah. It's going to take you how long to make this movie? 4 years.
Yeah.
I plan on being married,
and then they'd be like, "Wait, you want me to do what? I'm not getting down on that cliff. No, you're gonna.
I'm not eating that green stuff."
And if they don't know her well enough, she's gonna be like, "What? You want me to go out there so you guys can kill me? No, not happening." Yeah.
Well, what are you eating?
Get on the roof of the van and hold the camera. That's stupid. What are you? You're a guy. That's what you are.
You'd never get the husband to watch the kids for 4 years on the weekend.
Yeah. Oh no.
What?
I'm saying the guys are all off playing on the weekend. Where they're, certainly some of them have kids. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I guarantee you, this wasn't every weekend for 4 years. It was probably a few weekends.
I'm sure.
Couple
every year.
It was a lot of weekends.
Not even a couple times a month. I bet you it was probably one weekend a month tops. Maybe even they probably went stretches without shooting at all until he was able to make something. New Zealand
has seasons because it didn't. When I look at some of our movies that take a year to make, you can see, hey, the leaves are off the tree all of a sudden. I didn't notice that there. It looked like it all could have happened at the same, within a day or two. So, but I don't know.
Well, it's hot and hot. Hot and hotter.
Great pick. Glad we did this one. This is one of those reasons why I love doing this podcast, because I one of those films I've had my eye on for a long time. I just had never pulled the trigger.
And I can't believe it took me this long to watch it. I was like, I guess for me, it's like if I'm forced to watch it, it'll make me do it, as opposed to like, okay, when I have time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we do have one piece of feedback.
Okay.
And I'm trying to decide who wants to read this. Nobody's volunteering. Bill, how about you? We made Chad do all the taglines and stuff. Okay. Are you there, or do you want me to?
No, I got it. I'm not sure I completely understand what he's saying here, but Strode number 4278.
And this is on Madman episode 182.
On 182, Madman says, it's a much better movie than most of you make it out to be. Chad nailed it when he said why he liked it. But to watch a 40-year-old movie for the first time last week and criticize the music and the budget is just a bunch of people who don't really know what else to say. Anybody can do that.
I don't think I actually said how awesome it was, the freaking hot tub scene.
Yeah.
And they're like, and the
No, and
music,
I know I said I liked it better than The Burning. We were pretty much down on the music, and I don't know, and to not mention that it's a low budget. I mean, we just
that's
talked
important.
about it.
So you can actually.
I think what we were talking about was the 2 original songs that one of the producer did. Maybe that was so bad.
But those are so bad though.
During the hot tub scene, I believe one of them played.
But look, I'll give.
But it was good there because the hot tub scene is so funny.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right. Anyone can do what I do. I mean, look, you put on the headphones and you just talk, and you find some people that are willing to listen to whatever stupidity comes out of my pie hole. You're absolutely right, sir. You too can do a podcast like virtually everyone else in the country is doing. But what's tricky is not just to talk. Anyone can do that. But can you find a team of people that you love and are really cool and everything? That, my friend, is the challenge. Yeah.
Speaking of people that stick with things for years, here we are.
Yeah.
4 years later. But anyway, I don't disagree with what he's saying. I just don't think that's exactly what we were doing. I mean,
that's what I hope it didn't come off that way.
Anybody
really
could do what we were doing. I thought the music was bad. It doesn't have, and it had a low budget. I didn't think it criticized it. I think I did say something flippant about.
I feel like we do the opposite. If it has a low budget, we take that into consideration, which says, okay, they had a low budget, so they couldn't do everything.
I wasn't crazy about Mad Men, but I understand that every movie we do, including God Monster of Indian Flats, for God's sakes, is somebody's favorite movie. Unless a movie is just God, I'll tell you.
Sounds bad.
It was it's fascinating. It's something.
No, don't ever watch that movie.
Oh no, you want to watch that movie. But I mean, all movies, if you see it at the right time, at the right place, it talks to you, it reaches you. Mm-hmm. It could be your favorite movie. It doesn't matter if the rest of the world says it's garbage. It doesn't. What is it? It's important. This is art. And art speaks to everyone differently. We can laugh at the people back in Van Gogh's time who didn't want to buy any of his paintings, but it just didn't reach them. Now, had they been smart enough to pick up one of his things for a couple of shekels, their descendants would now be rolling in dough. So there you go. But art is the most subjective thing in the world, and movies are just like that. So if you get that Madman tattoo on your hindquarters, it's fine.
Yes, I really appreciate.
Well, let me show you mine. No,
I really appreciate the comment, and we're not trying to. I kind of disagree on the fact that we ran it down just because of the budget, because I liked it. I didn't like the music, so
I'll bet it had a bigger budget than this movie. I'll bet it had a bigger budget than.
Do you think so?
Bad Taste.
Ooh, I don't know.
I mean, I think they gave him some movie at the end, which probably was mostly to fix the sound. Everything we're seeing was probably done on his $11,000.
When he got that money, when he got that money, he bought a sound camera.
Yeah.
To finish up. So then he had sound.
That reminds me.
I'm sorry, Crystal. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm like, you just can't. Clearly, that just says that. Sorry, Jeff. That just says it's all talent there. He's clearly meant to do this. Wow.
So. Bill, that reminds me that I read or saw, I think it was in that clip, somewhere I saw a clip, where Jackson said he bought a used Bolex camera. And he literally talked about how you wound it up and you got 30 seconds. So I didn't pay that much attention, but it'd be nice to go through that and see, because there are a lot of quick cuts. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. I mean,
you wind it up for the energy or for whatever, like that's the battery.
That's
a spring motor. Yeah.
That's Kind of cool though.
I mean, that's the same kind of like horrible camera
Like-
that Andy Mulligan used to make his movies. But boy, Andy Mulligan's about a million miles away from what Peter Jackson did. It is remarkable what people did back then before the computers and everything made it so simple. If you wanted to do a double exposure, you had to shoot, stick your camera into a black bag, open it up, physically rewind the film.
Yeah.
And then film it again, and you had no idea how far back you rewound it, whether it was good. It was a miracle if it ever worked. Incredible creativity.
All right. That's it for this episode. And again, thanks for the feedback.
Thank you.
Every 2
We
weeks,
love
we
it.
focus
Yeah. I
specific film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up, we tackle one chosen by Chad.
Chad.
Near Dark.
There
Catherine
you
Bigelow
go.
film.
Yes.
We get into streaks. This is another 1987 one, and we did like 2 or 3 1981s in a row before. And this has been done before by the former 80s Grue-Crew, but it was 4 years ago. So,
But there was a different crew too.
We're doing it
and
now.
it was a different crew.
That's right.
So,
Let's see what we say about it.
Bigelow.
We better say good things. It's a great movie.
and please give us feedback. Hopefully Strode will listen again.
Yeah.
And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We definitely can use that. But if you don't want to leave comments there, you can send us feedback at gruesomemagazine.com
Facebook.
to that email address, feedback at gruesomemagazine.com, Facebook, etc.
If you send me something, I'll never read it. Sorry.
She won't.
Just
She
won't.
won't.
Send her something to a calendar. Send her a calendar appointment that she'll read it.
I'm a horrible person.
That'll almost guarantee she'll never.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only decades of horror can do it. Say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, folks.
Gruesome Magazine.